Alright guys, welcome back. So last week we finished off the week by getting a very healthy start on what will hopefully be the last of the floorboards for the loft. I'm not sure if it will be or not, but I'm hoping. I'm hoping they're the last ones. And we've got about 2/3 of them done and cut to length here. Now we may end up having to recut some of them if we're needing other sizes. I cut them to the longest possible size that I could get out of each board because you can always cut it shorter, but it's kind of hard to add that length back on. So we might have to cut a few of them down, but they're more or less what the final length is going to be. And then we've got about 1/3 of them left over here that we did not get around to cutting. So that is what we're going to start off with for this week. So today we are going to start putting some of these wider floorboards in. We've got all of the rest of these cut to length here. We did that the other day when we were out here, and we are going to start with the widest of the wide floorboards, which are these guys over here. We have the most of them. We have the most different sizes of these, so we have kind of all the different sizes that we need. Then next, once we use all those up, we'll move over here. These are sort of our middle width. Once we use those up, then we'll go to our narrower of the wider boards. Apparently, I don't know who made this handle, but I guess they must have used some subpar wood or something like that, because, you know, it really should have lasted longer than this. I don't know who made this thing, but... Alright, we're back in business, new handle on here. Let's get some more boards put down. Alright, so we've got 4 rows of these wider boards down, and it's a little bit interesting putting them in because they don't have quite the flexibility of the narrower boards that we've done, and this has been causing me a little bit of issue because apparently as I was putting in the narrow boards, I kind of wasn't going quite at the same pace across there at the ends. It was a little bit tighter than it was in the middle. So I kind of had a little bit of a, if you were to look at the floor from above kind of had a little bit of a bow across there. It wasn't a lot. And for the narrow boards, it wasn't a problem because they would just sort of bend just a little bit and they just, you know, kind of went wherever I put them. These, they're, you know, twice as wide. They aren't doing that. So these first couple runs have had a little bit of a gap in there where they aren't quite seating up all the way against the previous row. But I think it's kind of working itself out here. And then there's a couple places where the tongue of the board is missing, so you can actually see a little bit of light coming through there, which I'm not totally happy about. But eventually what I'll probably do is I'll end up kind of buttoning up this upper loft area pretty tight. That way I could heat it during the winter if I wanted to and keep it at a, you know, fairly constant temperature. And I'll probably end up putting something underneath the floorboards to insulate it, maybe, or possibly a thermal barrier, which is basically, if you've ever seen one of those space blankets, you know, it's that really shiny material and it just blocks heat from being able to go through. And it was also block these little tiny gaps that I've got for keeping any air from being able to move through there as well. Something, I don't know, we'll probably put something under there at some point and it'll kind of sort of hide these gaps a little bit. But anyways, let's get a few more runs of boards down. Well, folks, that was the last of the widest of the wide floorboards, and you can see some of my little spots where the light's coming through here, so I'm not going to show you that too much. But we are down to 27 inches of floor joist left over here that we have to cover with floorboards. So we are going to move on to our medium width wide floorboards. We're going to put a couple of those down, but we are not going to go any more than maybe 2 or 3 more runs across here, because we still got to be able to get up and down through here for the time being, because the ladder right here is the only way we can get up and down through. What we'll have to do is we'll move the ladder over here to the door, but I don't have a latch on the door yet. And so I've got a little screw that's in here that's keeping the door from being able to open. So before we can finish off the floor, we got to put a latch on the door so that way it can be opened from the inside or the outside. We can move our ladder over to here, and then we can finish off the last few runs. But today we've got a little bit of time left, so we'll put in maybe another 2 or 3 runs over here, and then tomorrow we'll work on getting our latch in. Hopefully that'll go smoothly, and if we're lucky, We'll finish off the floor tomorrow. Okay, this is as far as we go today. There is absolutely no more room to fit another row of boards across there and still be able to have the ladder coming up between the floor joists. All right, last day for this week, and like I said, the first thing we're going to work on today is a latch for this door right here. So for my latch that we're putting on here, I'm doing something a little bit weird with how we're putting this on. So what I wanted in a latch for this door was something that I could lock, something that was keyless so I didn't have to remember a key, and kind of what I came up with, and the thing that I liked, is this thing called a shed lock. So what it is it has a dial combination on here, and this is the part that goes on the outside, and this hinges on here. Then on the other side, you've got just sort of a standard, like a screen door latch, and you have this cable that comes through here. So you got this on one side, you got this on the other. Your cable, and I'm doing a very poor job of showing this to you, but your cable goes into this outer part and it hooks into here, so that way once you put in the correct combination, you can hinge this open, and when it hinges open, it pulls on the cable, and when the cable pulls, if I can get it here, it brings the latch in like that. But the one thing with this is that it is designed for a door that swings out. My door swings in. So I really had to think this over before I got it. And what I'm gonna do, and it's a kind of weird, but I'm gonna mount it actually on the door frame here and not on the door itself. Alright, well, we got the easy part of this done, and we got our latch on here, so that works really well. And then for this piece of wood right here, it's actually sort of a piece of slab wood, so it's got a little bit of bark on the other side here, so it actually makes sort of a natural handle right on there, so you can grab right onto that to open it up. Of course, with the wind blowing through here, you don't even need a pull on it for it to open right now. Guys, we got our latch on here. It works from both directions. Like I said, it's a little bit of a weird setup for how we got it on there. It's sort of backwards, but you know, it works, and I think it's going to work just fine. So this means that we can now move into the final stretch of our flooring. All right, folks. We got in as many rows of boards across here as we can get. Now, of course, I'm sure you noticed we've got some light coming up through here, and that's because we got the studs, so we can't get quite all the way over there. So the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna cut some of these really short pieces to length so that they'll fit inside of there, and we can kind of fill in some of these gaps along through here. I think I can pretty much say that we are now done with the floor. This also seems like a pretty good place to wrap up the video for this week. I'm not entirely sure what we're gonna be working on next week. Hadn't given it a whole lot of thought because I've just been trying to push through and get the floor done. One thing that we do need to do, we got a whole bunch of cutoffs up here, and we got some over in there for cutting these floorboards to length. I want to get all those cleaned out of here and kind of get all the sawdust out of here, get it cleaned up a little bit, and then also we've got actually a whole bunch of floorboards left over. We didn't even touch the narrower of the wide floorboards, and we still got a good handful of the medium width wide floorboards as well. So probably get those off to the side, stack them up, move them out of the way up here. After that, I'm not for sure. We might work on trying to close up the soffits. You can see where the light's coming through up there. And then that'll kind of more or less seal up this upper area. And by that I mean I won't have to worry about any barn swallows or anything like that coming up through here and building nests in this upper area. So probably soffits will be the next big thing we'll take on, but I guess we'll both find out next week. So with that said, as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next week.